Amazing conversations that we have lined up for today, a few housekeeping rules. Number one, please pay as much attention as possible. We have an amazing powerhouse lineup of women who are going to be speaking on very, very important and interesting topics, and we want to make sure that you guys grasp everything that they have to offer. If you need assistance locating the restrooms, we have restrooms down the hall to your right. We also have ushers throughout the hall who are here to help you. So if you need any assistance, please just reach out to your nearest usher. And for security reasons, please keep your belongings close so that we don't have any security issues. And more importantly, please share nuggets and impactful moments from this event with your friends and family online. We have 2 hashtags for the morning. The first one is FatePDS10 and FatePDS. So if you have any interesting nuggets, anything that you feel you would love to share, kindly use these hashtags to share about the event and promote what the Fate Institute has been doing for the past 10 years. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce a woman who has been instrumental in my own entrepreneurial journey and that of so many women across the country, and dare I even say, across the globe. Please help me welcome the Executive Director of Fate Foundation, Mrs. Adenike Adeyemi, who will be giving us the welcome remarks. Please give her a huge round of applause.
Thank you so much, Ayoyinka. It's a delight to have you compare our program for today. Ayoyinka is one of the entrepreneurs we've supported at Fate Foundation. I have to add, she's a second-generation entrepreneur. Our mother was in one of our classes in 2000, and then she did our entrepreneurial program and journey in 2016. And very soon, her daughter too will join. And again, this speaks to why we're having this conversation, where when you invest in women entrepreneurs, you're investing in communities, you're investing in families, you're investing in generations. And this could not have been a better intro to my welcome. So on behalf of the chairman, the board of directors, the management of Fate Foundation, our 2024 PDS committee, and the Fate Institute, which is the division that's hosting this program today, it's my delight, it's my pleasure to welcome you all warmly to our 10th Fate Foundation Policy Dialogue Series on Entrepreneurship and our second Women's Entrepreneurship Dialogue. I would like to acknowledge all of us here today. I want to welcome Mrs. Sheyi Bella, who is the chairman of our 2024 Policy Dialogue Series Committee, and also a member of our Communications Advocacy Committee at the board. I want to welcome Ms. Olushola Adeola, Director of Fate Foundation. I also want to welcome all our keynote speakers and our special guests today. I really would like to especially appreciate our keynote speaker, who came in just on time, Ms. Beatrice Eyong. Please, can we all give her a round of applause? You're welcome, madam. She is the UN Women Country Representative for Nigeria, and as soon as we sent her the invitation, she said yes, and has engaged us to understand, what we're trying to do, our focus, our work, and we're really looking forward to our keynote speech. Thank you very much. I do know that some of our other panelists are on their way, and we will be welcoming them as they make their way shortly into the program. And I also would not finish my welcome without appreciating the women entrepreneurs in this audience. To be honest, please, we can give ourselves a round of applause. We are doing this program because of the impact, in some cases, even the untapped potential of female entrepreneurs across different stages, across different levels, who have put a lot into building their businesses and sustaining their businesses. And I do want to acknowledge not just the women entrepreneurs, but also those who, through their different work, support, advocate, champion, empower, enable, inspire women entrepreneurs. Thank you. Please, can we give ourselves a round of applause? Honestly speaking, it's really a challenging environment, as we all know, and we can all acknowledge. And like I mentioned earlier, women entrepreneurs really are so fundamental because of their roles in building and nurturing homes, livelihoods, communities, despite the challenging terrains. And I want to acknowledge those who we've invited and are part of this conversation in different ways. Thank you so much. When we started our policy dialogue 10 years ago, we started it in 2015, and our goal really was to be able to create a space for stakeholders across the entrepreneurship ecosystem to have meaningful conversation and data-driven engagements around policies and programming that are critical to inspiring and sustaining productive entrepreneurship in Nigeria and beyond. And it honestly was, and it continues to be, a journey of learning, of reflection, and intentionality. On the conversations we want to have, I mean, why are we having these conversations? I can tell you that the theme for this year, and the theme even for these conversations, we started these deliberations over the last 8 to 9 months. What's the form? What's the structure? What's the format we want? And then what's the outcome? What are the outcomes we want to have? What are the outcomes we may desire, but we may not be able to have them? And what's sort of the middle way in between? And then also, more importantly, who are the stakeholders that are critical to those conversations, to bringing out the perspectives that we need so that they're broad-based, but they're also inclusive in terms of the conversation. And to then add to that, about 4 years ago, even us as an organization decided to even be more deliberate in agenda-led inclusion. It's not that we had not always supported women, it was always a primary focus of it, but we felt that we had it more as a tick, but not as a strategic intention, which was designed in the way we delivered our program, in the way our operations worked. And so we set up a gender inclusion committee with representatives across the foundation, who then worked with us to design what that strategy will be, to engage with a lot of our alumni members, female and even non-female, and also stakeholders outside of even the Faith Foundation community space. We wanted to make sure that going from then on, our design, the delivery, the evaluation of the programs that we did really had an intentional gender lens strategy. And with partners such as Google.org and the Sherry Blair Foundation, we were able to not just pilot, but also roll out digital and financial inclusion programs focused on women entrepreneurs in Nigeria, in Kenya, and also in South Africa. From a data point, the other fundamental thing that also happened was, as we would have tomorrow, we'll be launching our 2024 State of Entrepreneurship in Nigeria report. And for the last 4 years, including this year, we've also collected gender data around women entrepreneurship. And I really welcome you to look forward to tomorrow, where we'll fully launch the data insights, because we collect them and we disaggregate them across the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. We look at the 5 indicators which we've defined as critical to understanding how women entrepreneurs have performed. We have also, in the last 2 to 3 years, done a funding lens. This year, we're doing an access to market lens. Last year, we also did a taxation lens, so that we're disaggregating the information that we're collecting across board, but also then saying, what are we seeing from women entrepreneurs in nano, micro, and small businesses in particular. And so last year, because we had then consistently collected that data over 3 years, we decided to have a conversation that was just focused on women entrepreneurs. So today is the second women entrepreneurship conversation we're having, and the theme for today is shaping the future of women's entrepreneurship in the next decade. And our desire is that this will not just be a journey of reflection on the progress made to date, but that the conversations will highlight key essential drivers for transforming and strengthening a gender-inclusive entrepreneurship ecosystem for the next decade, and setting the stage for a more prosperous and innovative future. So once again, you're all welcome. I'm really honored to welcome you all today, and I look forward to the conversations that we're having. Thank you very much, and over to you, Ayolinka. Thank you.
Can we please give Mrs. Adenike another round of applause? I mean, just everything that she spoke about, about women entrepreneurs and the work that they have been doing is so amazing. I'm personally very excited to see that report, and I think that every female woman entrepreneur should read these types of documents to understand what, how will I put it, what's going on in the business scene, from a calculated point of view, let me put it like that. Okay, so we've only just scratched the surface of what we have to offer today, and I'm already overwhelmed with joy just to be in a room of such impactful women. And on that note, I would like to introduce another woman who is doing amazing things at the Faith Institute. Director of the Faith Institute, Miss Amaka Nwaokolo. Please give her a round of applause. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and ladies. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Ayoyinka. And welcome to our Women Entrepreneurship Dialogue Conversation this year. Just permit me, I'm kind of old school, so I like to have the papers with me. And so I am up here because I'm going to be sharing some data from the annual State of Entrepreneurship report, which Adenike just mentioned will be launching tomorrow. So please mark your calendars. The conversation is just starting, and we would love to have you in the room tomorrow when we're launching the full report. But today, I would be sharing some teaser information, particularly the ones relating to our conversation today. As we look to the next decade, because at Faith Foundation, Faith Institute, we're celebrating 10, and as we look towards the next decade, the question is, what's the future for women's entrepreneurship looking like, right? How has the ecosystem evolved over the past decade? And that conversation would be exhausted fully today. But to provide some context, I will share some data insights from our report that will be launched tomorrow. Okay, so the State of Entrepreneurship report assesses entrepreneurial activity across the 37 states in Nigeria, including the FCT. And we use 5 pillars, which include 1, business performance. We look at skills acquisition. We look at technology adoption. We look at perception of opportunities. And we look at enabling environment. And we use these 5 pillars to assess how entrepreneurship is doing and how entrepreneurs have fared in the last year, right? Now, this year, we surveyed 10,535 businesses across the 37 states in Nigeria. And this number is very close to the number that we surveyed last year, because from a data perspective, one of the things we're trying to do is also ensure we keep the data very close to, very close year on year, so that we can track what is happening with regards to women entrepreneurship. Now, this year, 48% of the businesses we surveyed, okay, so I have some conversations happening behind. Can we have some silence? Okay, thank you. This year, 48% of businesses surveyed were owned by or run by female-led entrepreneurs. And this is an increase. Yes, I see. And this is a steady increase from 42% in 2023, which was last year, and 39% in 2022, right? So we're seeing a steady increase. So yay, our female entrepreneurs, against all odds, we see our women, thriving and pushing. 63% of these female-led businesses recorded growth in the past 1 year, but then a decline from 2023. So we've always had women indicate that they've recorded growth, but what we're seeing is the number of women that recorded growth has declined. Again, the question would be, what's influencing that, right? One can easily infer and say, because of the macroeconomic environment and just everything happening within the economy, this has some impact on businesses, and it does. And that's one area to look at. And again, the panel would discuss that when we get to that session or time. Now, when we probed a bit further to say, if you experience some growth, in what area did you experience growth? One of the top category was increase in customers, followed by increase in profit, improved cash flow, increase in revenue, and improved operational efficiency. What was driving this growth for a lot of female-led businesses this year? One was access to markets. It was also increased demand. Okay, so it was, no, so I'm on the next slide. It was access to markets, it was increased demand, it was technology adoption, access to finance, and skilled workforce. So when I see technology adoption, it's not surprising or shocking, because when we look at some of the white papers at Fate Institute, we also develop white papers that in a way dovetail into some of the data that we see emerging from the State of Entrepreneurship report. And technology adoption was something we discovered, is widespread amongst female entrepreneurs. And then we found out that female entrepreneurs have quick agility to adopt technology in their businesses. So we see that coming up again this year. What were the factors that mitigated growth? One, access to finance, and this has remained consistent. It's been a persistent problem. And we really hope that during the panel conversations, because again, at the end of the conversation today, we really want the conversations to lead to very clear policy recommendations and the way forward. How would we navigate this specifically for women-led entrepreneurs? So number one, we have access to finance. We have access to markets coming up number 2 this year. Number 3, we have insecurity. Number 4, we have foreign exchange challenges. Again, this is all understandable. And number 5, we have poor power supply or energy supply. All the Band A people in the house say yay. We all know what that means. Now, lack of access to finance has remained a major challenge for female-led businesses. I'm on the next slide. It's remained a major challenge for female-led businesses. And the thing about female entrepreneurs is that they experience the issue very differently. Access to finance is a problem generally within the ecosystem, but for female-led entrepreneurs, there are additional barriers that they have to face or have to grapple with. In terms of job creation, business creation, we had about 21% of female-led businesses employ new staff, so create some jobs. But again, there was a decline just from last year where we had 29.7%, so we had almost 30%. This year we have, about 21%, so a gap of about 9%. But again, if the economy is not very supportive, or the environment is not very supportive, instead of employing people, you'll most likely be laying people off, because at the end of the day, as a business, you need to survive. So we're seeing that happen. For female-led businesses that do not adopt technology, we asked what was the reason, what's the issue. The cost of acquiring technology tools was the most significant barrier or issue or challenge that was mentioned. And then when we look at acquiring business skills and business management, skills acquisition, which of course we know is important and critical to running your business, about 37% acquired business skills. But then again, it's a decline from last year where we had about 38%. Again, this just says that if you're trying to, in a way, bootstrap or stay afloat, every available fund that you have is channeled to ensuring that business stays, operational. And so in a way, acquiring new skills or taking a course, not because you don't want to, but because the funds are just not available, right? So we're seeing that reflect on the data. Business performance, financial literacy, and investor readiness, were the 3 top industry-specific skills. When it came to skill acquisition, that a lot of our female entrepreneurs, were interested or were drawn to taking. And so in a nutshell, I said I was going to give you a teaser. So that's the teaser that I have. We have more information. We have more information in the report, and so we encourage you to download. I don't know if we have the QR code for us to download just yet, but if we don't have it now, we'll put it up at some time during the program so you can download the report and access the full information and full data. But for now, I would pause here and we would continue the conversation during the panel session. But to take us further along, please join me in welcoming a very important speaker to the podium. I was going to say, can we guess? Can we raise our hands to guess? But she's already in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, emphasis on gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Ms. Beatrice Eyong, who is the UN Women representative to Nigeria, to deliver the keynote address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't even realize that. Sorry. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure, it's an honor for me to stand here today to be talking to you about our common agenda. I will also beg to stand on the existing protocol because I don't really master the issues of protocol. Yeah. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by acknowledging and appreciating the formidable contribution of the Faith Foundation to creating a platform to discuss and engage on the growth and future of businesses in Nigeria. The decade-long conversations and actions have strongly facilitated progress and actions toward improving the opportunities available for women and youth entrepreneurs to thrive in Nigeria. I also commend Faith Foundation, its founder, leadership, and community of stakeholders for contributing to the development of entrepreneurs in Nigeria over the past 24 years, with many of them being women who have contributed immensely to diverse sectors of the economy of the nation. And I also want to appreciate our women entrepreneurs, that despite the difficulties that they face, they are able still to stand, do their businesses. And as UN Women, we are very, very interested in female entrepreneurs for a couple of reasons. The first one is that the female entrepreneurs stand as a shining example of what women can do. So that encourages us with our work at the United Nations. The other one is that from a personal and practical level, my mom was a really small business woman. And I can see what that small business has done, sending me to school, bringing me to this level. So that's why we are very interested, even in the smallest businesses, because we know great men and great women can come from those kind of households. So I actually congratulate all of you. UN Women's mandate as a global champion of gender equality positions us as critical stakeholders, contributing to delivering programs, policies, and standards that uphold women's human rights and ensure that every woman and girl lives up to her full potential. So being an entrepreneur does not exclude the issues of human rights. Human rights has to be at the center of whatever we do. Because we've seen situations where the women work, but they don't benefit, which for us is a human rights issue. So, UN Women has a women's economic empowerment, what we call WE strategy, that focuses as a mandate that identifies the true impact of the economic well-being of women, which reflects in their power and autonomy, their resources that are inclusive of their equal rights, ownership, and access to resources, as well as systemic norms and institutions which should work in their favor. So all the issues of human rights, the issue of ownership, access to resources like land, finance, all those aspects are very, very important for a vibrant economic sector. The WE strategy identifies 3 main challenges that need to be addressed to further achieve economic power for women, particularly systemic inequality, inequality of opportunity, and inequality of outcomes. To achieve the theme of today's dialogue of shaping the future of women's entrepreneurship in the next decade, it is expedient that these challenges are not only addressed, but that priority and cross-cutting areas are further prioritized as critical focus areas by all relevant stakeholders, while further ensuring that we leave no one behind. No one should be left behind because of distance, because of level of education, because of where they live, or because of the size of their businesses. As I just stated, small business holders can contribute to nation building. So women's entrepreneurship is an important aspect of national development, as well as social development, with an immense ability to boost the health and well-being of children, families, and communities. When women are able to support family income, especially in harsh economic circumstances. I don't need to say that. We know that when women have money, the first focus of that money is the family. Yeah, studies have shown that when men have more money, men yes, men tend to ask, what do I do to be seen as important? So you'll find them buying what we call status symbol, yeah, to show that. But when women have the money, they are looking at their homes, looking at their husbands. No man can refuse this. Is there any man who can refuse it? No man can refuse it. So, so that's why it's very, very important for women to be economically viable. Because when they are economically viable, we are sure that the next generation will improve its living standard. Women are, however, faced with multiple levels of economic and social challenges that inhibit their productivity and ability to compete fairly in the market space. These challenges include poor access to the market, poor access to processing technologies and other infrastructures, low access to finances, and a poor enabling business and policy environment to support their business growth. And I would add gender-based violence. Because many people just say, gender-based violence is just a man slapping the wife. Yeah, because about more than 30% of Nigerian men believe that it is good to beat your wife sometimes. The statistics show. But what I'm putting on the table today is that the gender-based violence is not just limited in the domestic sphere. It is everywhere. We can see it in the marketplace, we can see it at school, we can see it. But why should I talk about it in this particular dialogue today? It's because gender-based violence has the capacity to reduce our GDP. Studies have shown it. It's very clear. Studies from the World Bank saying that if women are not allowed, because of the different gender-based violence in the society, to participate fully in the economic sector, then we will be losing our economic growth, the potential for our economic growth. And I think in a layman's way, you can simply think in Nigeria, statistics show that 30% of women have faced any form of gender-based violence, 30%. And I just want you to reason with me, if women, for instance, I am not able to produce because of a verbal violence, a physical violence, or a psychological violence, I cannot produce. And just imagine, take 30% of Nigerian women, that will be about 30 million women who are unable to produce at their best levels just because of the different gender-based violence. So gender-based violence has a detrimental effect on our economic growth, on our capacity, on our possibility to grow. In the rural communities, women face additional challenges such as illiteracy and limited education, traditional restrictions like land ownership, cultural practices, financial exclusion, early child marriage, and other discriminatory norms. Somebody may be asking, why are we concerned about rural communities? Yes, we also have rural businesses. We have rural businesses that contribute even to what we do at the urban space. And in the rural area, we have 15% of households led by women. Urban space in Nigeria, we have 19% of households being led by women. So if we don't take into consideration these needs, these problems, these challenges, then we'll find out that, because a simple calculation of 19% plus 15% takes you to about 30 million people in those households that are led by women. And this population itself is bigger than Benin, is bigger than Rwanda, is bigger. Those are the people these women are actually having to take care of. So we need to think in terms of how do we improve the situation of these women. We are talking about in the next decade. What would be the next decade for these women if we do nothing? In Nigeria, we are actually going digital. If nothing is done in the digital space for these rural women, then we'll have a parallel economy. Those who are able will be in the digital economy. Those who are not able, maybe because of literacy, they are totally out. So we need to rethink. Even what we call rural and urban, we need to rethink. Let's rethink it. The 2021 survey report, which I thought I saw here, of the National Bureau of Statistics has identified Nigeria as having over 38.4 million female entrepreneurs in the country, accounting for 32.9% of business ownership. However, a majority of them fall within the nano and the micro level businesses in the country. This commendable feat is not without its additional challenges, such as gender stereotypes. Yes, sometimes even the way the banks will perceive women. And we have had to work to personally take women into banks to do transactions just to give confidence on both sides. Confidence for the women and also confidence for the banks to believe that they can fund small businesses, that it's profitable to fund small or to finance small businesses. So, such as also childbearing and rearing responsibilities. This, I would like to talk a little bit about it, because for us, it's becoming an issue in our office, is that we want women to participate in development, in economy, all the aspects of development, but we have not figured out how we reduce the heavy labor burden on these women. Because the fact that you're a good entrepreneur does not change the fact that you have to go back and cook, you have to go back, take care of, I don't know, whatever is in the house. And that has, that has an impact, the way women can perform in development, can perform in businesses, because they will always think of what is happening in the home, how to do it. So we have to figure out, how do we take our women from unpaid care work to paid care work? The truth is that the more time you spend on unpaid care work, the poorer you become. And that is why women, in most instances, are poorer than men. Yes, those are some of the issues. So in the next decade, let's be reasoning, how is it that we're going to make sure that we take more of our women out of unpaid care work and into the paid economy? And we also have to think of, how do we transform the unpaid care economy into an economy that is benefiting all of us? Yes, because statistics shows that if we adequately invest in the care economy, we will be able, I'm talking about Nigeria, we'll be able to generate 11 million jobs if we do that. And we'll free many women from this heavy labor burden. So we also have societal expectations which further constrain the entrepreneurial activities of women. Yes, what people are expecting from women, or because they are women. Despite all these challenges, despite all the challenges female entrepreneurs face in the country, their current contributions to the economy cannot be overlooked, as they create jobs, reduce poverty, raise other entrepreneurs, develop skills, and further build resilience. These contributions can continuously be achieved on a larger scale if unfavorable environmental circumstances and barriers can be addressed to increase their capabilities, which can also be achieved through targeted support and inclusive policies that are domesticated. Through several initiatives, those several initiatives have been established by the government of Nigeria and other private and development partners to improve the capacity of women and youth entrepreneurs, to improve their understanding of digital technologies and how to take advantage of it, to improve their access to finance and improve their specialty in their fields. There is still much more room for growth to bring this group of entrepreneurs to a place of decent employment and sustainable job creation. UN Women, Faith Foundation, along with other partners, have supported and continue to support initiatives to improve policies and business environment for entrepreneurs. In the next decade, we must look to creating a better business environment that would improve the ease of doing business. Ease of doing business is something very important, not only for big enterprises, not only for male entrepreneurs, but also for women's entrepreneurs. We have been talking about creating a one-stop center for women entrepreneurs in Lagos. We are working towards it so that when you enter that space, you have everything you need to start your business from idea up to entering the markets. So we are looking at that. We are also looking at the aspect of ensuring easy access to technology and improved infrastructure. improve access to credit for women and youth entrepreneurs, commit to capacity building and establish favorable policies, laws, and regulations that will facilitate a thriving business space for all. From the perspective of inclusive business policies, it is important to collectively drive advocacy for positive change and inclusive policy design support. An example of this can be gleaned from the work of UN Women. We have been, over the last 2 years, driving what we call affirmative procurement. Affirmative procurement, to easily understand it, is just to ask yourself, for all the public contracts that government gives, for all the public contracts that the UN gives, the public contracts that the private sector give, what percentage goes to women entrepreneurs? And statistics have shown that women, they don't even go up to 5%. They don't even receive 5%. And so we started a pilot for 2 states plus FCT, and I'm happy to inform you that we did it in Lagos State and Kaduna State. And I'm glad to inform you that the Kaduna State government decided to put it into law, the affirmative procurement policy. This policy gives at least some advantages to women entrepreneurs. For instance, now they are sure that 30% of all public contracts in Kaduna State will be reserved for women. So these are some innovative things we are trying to do to make sure that women can actually penetrate the procurement space. With support also from the African Development Bank, UN Women embarked on working with Kaduna and Lagos states. We are expecting, and we believe that the Kaduna executive governor is going to also put into law this affirmative procurement. So advocacy that is rooted in data and research will ensure we keep women's needs and contributions at the forefront of economic policy and development initiatives. By deepening our understanding of the unique challenges and opportunities facing women entrepreneurs, we can effectively influence policy, mobilize resources, and tailor our support to areas of greatest impact. Trade opportunities for female entrepreneurs within the African Free Trade Continental area is also an area that women should not shy away from, as they are huge economic growth potentials for them. The UN is working on several initiatives in this regard, and I encourage Faith Foundation to further ensure that their female entrepreneurs galvanize themselves to understand the markets they can access and prepare to leverage on business activities in them. The future of the economic well-being of women will also require the adoption of gender-responsive budgeting, which is budgeting that works for everyone. Gender-responsive budgeting fosters justice, strengthens government's accountability, and supports better alignment of national budgets with the Sustainable Development Goals. Gender-responsive budgeting simply is a strategy to ensure that resources go to those who need them. So you don't keep on adding money to those who have the money, but you actually give money to those who need that money. For instance, if you add my salary, you are not working against poverty, because it didn't meet me at poverty level. But if you take that money that you want to add my salary and you give to some women, it will transform their lives. I have seen where $100 transformed the lives of not only of an individual, but of a family. What will happen if government deliberately or private companies deliberately say we are going to adopt gender-responsive budgeting? The global value of unpaid care work and domestic work for women aged 15 and above stands at about $10.8 trillion annually. The care economy is therefore one that captures provision of unpaid care work by households and communities, as well as paid jobs in the care sectors. Women-owned businesses need to position themselves to provide solutions in this economy and be part of the drive towards a national care policy that is relevant for the future of the vibrant economy of the nation. So another big area we can be looking at in the next decade should be the care economy. I also would say we have carried out 2 studies in the mining sector and in the maritime sector who've been looking at why is it that we have 98% men in the maritime sector, for instance, and same thing for the mining. So these are areas that we should also think about during this decade, because in those sectors, you realize men benefit much more better than women. This is the truth. That is what statistics show. If you even look at the mining sector, you may be tempted to say that sometimes women are the more victims. Gender-based violence, disposition of their landed properties, so many things that are happening to that. So we could also take this decade to look at how do we push or promote more women into those sectors that are male-dominated. Because if women are not participating in any sector, the country is actually losing, because the full potential of its population is not being used. So we should also look at those areas where men are dominating, where women maybe think that it's difficult to penetrate. Equally important in this journey is expanding evidence-based research and advocacy, which will require action through partnerships, convenings, implementation of plans and policies, addressing norms that serve as barriers, data-based analysis and decision-making. I'm laughing because I know I'm taking time, but just bear with me, it's my passion. Yes, I'm taking time. You know, when I went to work in the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, I was shocked that a woman at that time could not open a bank account without the husband's approval or a male approval. Can you imagine? Yes, as far as that, you can't open an account except they say, yes, they show you paper, they say, yes, you can open an account. And if you can't open an account, I'm not sure, even if you open that account, you can use it yourself. It might be also under the dictate of the male partner. All this, what am I talking about? It affects the way women entrepreneurs can perform. Yeah, even to take credits, they will say you need a male counterpart, or you need a landed property, or you need whatever. So we should look at, in the next decades, what is it that we should be doing so that women can access finances without having to give collaterals that they don't have. As we look to the next decade, UN Women remains steadfast in the commitment to women's economic empowerment and resilience, not only at the urban space, but also at the rural space. We have what we call a climate-smart agriculture, technically assisted by a digital platform we call Buy From Women. Buy From Women brings the rural women into the digital space. They have the opportunity to have real-time information about the climate, about the market, about where they can buy their inputs and where they can sell their produce, and where they can get training, yeah, and how they can get money. Because this digital platform creates a credit history, creates a production history that shows that these women, they have been taking credit and they have been repaying. First, statistics shows that women repay loans better than men. And then, yes, thank you. That's what statistics shows. And then they also have a productivity or a production history that shows that they started with 1 ton, but they are now at 5 ton. So you can actually have confidence in them. And we've worked in such a way that women farmers can sign contracts with private enterprises. And when they sign those contracts, the private enterprises will give 20% upfront of funding. And that funding is very, very important because one of my fields of specialization is microfinance. The loan preferences of most banks does not regard reproductive work, reproductive work. So they would want only economic activities. But I want to tell you, when you give a woman loan and the child is sick, you yourself just tell me what will happen. Yeah, tell me what will happen. If the child is sick, definitely that woman is, first of all, going to take care of that child. So those 20% funding helps to take care of those concerns of women and liberate them to be able to perform better. So as we look to the next decade, UN Women remains steadfast in its commitment to women's economic empowerment and resilience. Together with the Nigerian government and all relevant stakeholders, we will continue to work towards creating more decent jobs, building stronger business ecosystems, and enhancing women's contributions to Nigeria's economy. We will deepen our focus on expanding the fiscal space for investment in gender and supporting the government to develop gender-responsive macroeconomic policies and provide evidence on the impact of microeconomic trends in gender equality. UN Women is also open to working with the private sector in developing standards for the promotion of financing for gender-focused opportunities, as well as promoting women's access to finance, joint initiatives on the world of work, and improved aggregated data. We will drive their commitment to contributing to gender bonds and other initiatives that will define in the future of the equitable economy. We will also deepen our work in technologies, gender-responsive technologies. Thank you for all your commitments to driving transformative changes and for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. Together, we can shape the future of women's entrepreneurship in the next decade. And I assure you, the future is feminine.
Much, Ms. Eyong, for that powerful and impactful speech. Please, can we give her another round of applause? And I would like to please invite Ms. Adenike Adeyemi, ED Faith Foundation, for pictures. Mrs. Shea Bella, Director of Faith Board Director of Faith Foundation. Ms. Shola Adeola, Director of Faith Foundation. Ms. Amaka Nwaokolo, Director of Faith Institute. And Mr. Bambo Adebowale, Dean, the Faith School. We would like to invite you up to please take some pictures.
Stand in the middle.
Okay, so how are we feeling after that, amazing speech? Can we please give Ms. Eyong another round of applause? Thank you. I was personally blown away by these statistics. 38.4 million women entrepreneurs. Can we have the men only? Only the men should please clap for us. 34.8 million is no joke. And then can we please give ourselves a round of applause as well? And I really, really loved how the UN Women are working towards providing solutions for women at all levels, so no one is left behind. I think that was very, very inspiring to me, and I'm excited for the next 10 years. Okay, so before we jump back into the more serious conversations, let's take a little break to enjoy some spoken word. I would like to introduce Oluchi Johnson Achibiri. Thank you. Please come up, Oluchi. Give her a round of applause as she does, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Okay, you all look lovely. Just so this piece is a piece dear to my heart. I hope you enjoy it. Okay. I am a woman of hustle, the one they didn't see coming. From bootstrapping in my living room between school runs, PTA meetings, and balancing dinner pots, to logging my wares, door to door, stilettos clicking on pavements and muddy streets on some days, and some other times wearing slip-on sneakers. I am the woman who does both grace and grit seamlessly. I wade through an environment that wasn't built for me, an environment that prefers my silence while celebrating the loudness of another. But I refuse to shrink. I refuse to fold. I am the one defying the odds. Even when finance doesn't come easy, even when the banks whisper no, more than they say yes, I build without their permission, without waiting for an open door. Because if the door won't open, I will make one. With my own hands, wood, steel, sweat, and vision. Business training, they didn't think to invite me to that table, but I brought my own chair. I sat and I learned. I learned through failure, trying and doing, because I'm not waiting for someone to teach me how to succeed. I am teaching myself. They say I should stay quiet, that my mother stayed in her lane, but I hear her voice, always reminding me, "Nne, ga nke ọma. Go well, my daughter, to take everything she never had." I carry her dreams with me, dreams that couldn't breathe in her time, and I walk forward. I am breaking through barriers, one brick at a time. Poor access to information, I dig, I search, I find, and every day I build confidence in myself. I am the woman shaping her reality because I have no choice but to move forward. I push through cultural norms and societal expectations, the same ones that tell me to stay in the background, that I don't belong in the boardroom, as if my power isn't loud enough. But I know my place. It's at the front, leading. Beyond this unconscious bias, I am fully aware. I carry my worth like gold. I stand in my own power, unapologetic. I see it, I feel it. I am my mother's legacy. Her voice is never too far from me, reminding me, Tesiwaju, keep going forward. I am building beyond what was handed to her, more than she was ever allowed to dream. I am the one who must succeed, who must shape the future of this tongue-twisting calling, rolling off the tongue in 5 syllables, entrepreneurship, a calling they didn't think belonged to people like me. But here I am, making it mine, taking it, owning it, and I must do it for my community, for my bloodline, for my influence, but most importantly, for myself. I am the Nigerian woman entrepreneur. This is who I am. Thank you.
I mean, that was beyond amazing. Can we give Oluchi another round of applause? We're taking territory. We are making our own doors. We're not even breaking them down. And, we are taking what we deserve as women. I love it. Okay. So did you guys also know, let me quickly mention that Oluchi is the digital products manager at Faith Foundation. So can you see that we have a dynamic and multi-talented set of women at the Faith Foundation? Please give the Faith Foundation and the Faith Institute another round of applause. All right, so now that we're all gingered and excited, let's get into the next session. It's time for our panel session. And this is a session that I personally have really been looking forward to. We have an incredible lineup of women. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to be in a corner taking notes, and I encourage you guys to do so as well. So I would like to invite to moderate this session a phenomenal woman. She is a national consult on gender for UN Women, Mrs. Hanatu Adegbite. Please give her a resounding round of applause.
You see? That is, sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. My voice is louder than all of you together. Good morning once again, everybody. Good morning. First of all, it's always a pleasure to be anywhere speaking about gender. And I want to use this opportunity to thank Faith Foundation and to welcome my fellow panelists to the stage. I believe that I think one of them is joining us virtually. And so is Divya O'Connor, for the CEO of Cherry Blair Foundation. Is she online? Hajia Amina Sani, the Honorable Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs, Kano State. Okay. So I understand she's at the airport. I wish there is a way we could get her virtually. Okay. You people should have moved my panel now. Because you can imagine this woman came all the way from Kano. It would have been fantastic to have her here. And then my dear sister, Wemi Eribo, the DG of Women Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines, and Agriculture. Please encourage her until she gets here. My DG. Abimbola Aze, the founder of Mona Matthews. In fact, I'm so happy I am seeing you today. I think one of your Faith alumni, Tunde, gave me a gift a few years ago from Mona Matthews. Now I'm seeing the brains behind it all. Please, let's encourage her. Let's encourage her. Please, can I confirm that Divya is online?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Okay. Just for me to just see her online, it would be good to just see her on the screen. But while we're waiting for that, I think since my other panelists are not here, I think you can come closer so that we're all in one frame. Where's the... Okay, we move. Okay, no problem. I like that. Inclusiveness. Okay. Since we're all here, I'd like to start with those of you that are here with me. I personally usually like to give people 1 or 2 minutes to just introduce themselves. Nobody can sell themselves like you that has walked the walk and talked the talk. So I'd want to give you the opportunity to sell yourself. Just tell us a little bit about you. Just one, in fact, not really you, but more of the work that you do for female entrepreneurs in Nigeria and beyond. Wayemi, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I think I really want to start by acknowledging the polarity that I'm dealing with right now. First, the energy that I'm getting, just like you said, from being in spaces like this, but also the pull that I got from the poem that was just given. And I say that because I can resonate with every sentence that she said, literally every sentence. So my emotions are raging right now. Like I got teary-eyed when she was speaking. So I just wanted to start by acknowledging that. And I think it's, for the work that I've been doing, is really just focused on women's economic empowerment. And so literally I've thrown my life to that. And it didn't start out of the blues. I had my own personal life experiences that led me to that point where I realized that a woman can make better decisions for herself if she has money. She can remove herself from spaces if she has economic power, spaces that she shouldn't be in. So literally, that's what my life is. I've dedicated my life to that. So in the next decade, plus, in fact, for the rest of my life, really, that's really what I'll be doing. And it's really just how do we ensure that women entrepreneurs have whatever it is that they need, tools, resources, information, to move themselves from point A to point B. We know statistics shows a lot of women-owned businesses run within nano, micro, but we need to move to much larger enterprises. And what do we need to do? What do we need to put in place to ensure that women entrepreneurs can move from point A to point B? So literally, yes, that's what I've been doing, ensuring that my work really just cuts across women across different sectors, but just putting them in positions where they can make better decisions for themselves, for their businesses, and for their families.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please encourage her. Me, I like encouragement too. Mona Matthews. First, let me give you credit. You are in this space. You know, all of us were talking for female entrepreneurs, but you are a practicing one. And I'm sure you have been practicing for quite a number of years. Why not just let us know a little of what you do?
Okay. Thank you very much for this wonderful event. My mind has been, doing all sorts of things. I studied law at the University of Lagos, came out with a good grade, practiced law for 17 years. But I have very interesting feet. One is bigger than the other, and both are wider than they should be. So it was very difficult to get good shoes in my size that looked nice. And so I just started trying to find good shoes made in Nigeria. And I discovered that people around me, men, drivers, messengers, your clerk in the office, they were wearing real leather shoes. And we were having to contend with synthetic shoes that were being brought in at that time, mostly from Dubai and China. And as I began to investigate, I found out that the people who were making these shoes were not even putting made in Nigeria on them. They were putting fake Gucci and fake this and fake that on the shoes, Anyway, long story short, I was looking for shoes for myself, but I realized that this was a business that I was interested in developing. And I spoke to a friend of mine, and he said, "You have a good idea." And I told him what I wanted to do, that I didn't want to make the shoes myself, and I didn't want to set up a factory, that I wanted to outsource production and be the designer and retail, interface with customers. And he said, essentially, that's what Nike does, and they are the largest shoe manufacturing, largest name in the shoe space. They don't own any factory. Then he whispered to me, "I think you should go to Faith Foundation." So it's always very difficult for me to tell my story without telling the story of Faith Foundation. Because 22 years ago, when I started Mona Matthews, I also had the privilege of joining AEP, I think AEP 5 or 2 at the time. Yes. And so we started making these shoes under the brand name Mona Matthews and serving different sectors of the population. And when I say different sectors, the first niche for me, of course, was big sizes, big feet. I can see some of you in the house. I will not mention your names. That are my customers or should be my customers, And then, but we then grew and found different spaces. one of the things we found out was that the shoemakers didn't want to make shoes for women. It's like, women, your wahala is too much. Color, heel, style, design, you know. When the keynote speaker was talking, she said that, no, it wasn't the keynote speaker. I think it was Amaka. She was giving the statistics that women are more nimble, we're more, yes, and we change very quickly. So what it is that women's styles change 4 times in a year. We change fashion 4 times in a year. Men change fashion every 4 years. So I'm like, why do you want to be making shoes for only men? They only buy 2 colors, black and brown. Women, come on, please let's look at the array of colors in the house, you know. And that's really how I started. And you know, I've grown. We have like over 10 clusters of shoemakers making different types of shoes for Mona Matthews. And so when you walk into our showroom, one person can walk away with 10 different types of shoes. And we're also transgenerational. We can make shoes for the grandmother, the mother, and her husband, and their children, because we think about what does the customer need for every day of their life. So one day they're going to work, another day they're going to a party, another day it's a big celebration, and all of that. I know, I just realized that. But so we've been doing that for 22 years. And then just to follow up with what you said, we realize now we're in the stage where we can now begin to decide we want a factory. And that's what we're heading towards. We need to have that factory now. We have track record. We understand the market. We want to scale. Thank you.
I am also looking forward to my faith story, my faith foundation. Divya, can you hear me? I can see you, but can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Good morning. Are you all able to hear me?
Yes, very well, loud and clear. Welcome all the way from UK. It's a pleasure to see you. I must admit to you that I am a mentee and a mentor with the Sherry Blair Foundation.
Same.
And so is where I'm here. So I can say that we are also products of the work that you do. So why not tell us a little about that work that you do, especially for the women around the world?
Yes, that's wonderful to hear. And thank you for inviting me to participate in this forum. It's a real honor to be here and to be part of this distinguished panel. So at the Cherie Blair Foundation for Women, our mission is to really empower women in low and middle income countries to start, sustain, and grow successful businesses, and also to help build fairer and more inclusive business environments. And we do this in 3 main ways: through providing direct training and mentoring programs, as you've mentioned, conducting primary research with women entrepreneurs directly, and then leveraging what that research tells us in order to advocate for systems change and improve the environments in which the women operate. And the foundation has been working in Nigeria since 2012, and I'm delighted to share that during that time, we have supported nearly 130,000 women entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Well done, well done. So,
Thank you.
Since I have you on, and I'm loving your smile from this angle, I will want to start with the first question for you. And I want to ask you, what trends do you see that in the forms of financing, women-owned businesses, the trends that you see for women-led businesses, and how can entrepreneurs better position themselves to access financing? Because I'm sure from your research, you have seen a lot of the challenges they face regarding access to finance.
Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges that women entrepreneurs tell us they face is access to finance, and we've heard that this morning already. We see this globally as well. Our recent research, which surveyed over 1,100 women across over 81 low and middle income countries, also showed that this was the biggest challenge for over a quarter of women. But the good news is we are seeing positive trends emerging, and there has been an increase in gender-specific funds and products that target women-led businesses. So, for example, the African Development Bank's AFAWA initiative, the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, aims to bridge the $42 billion financing gap facing women entrepreneurs across the African continent. That's one. EcoBank's Elevate initiative offers favorable lending terms for women. And we also see more fintechs targeting women like Hervest, which offers accessible credit, investment, and saving options. And to better position themselves to attract this funding, I mean, there are several things that women entrepreneurs need to consider. Firstly is formalizing their business, and this is really crucial. There are nearly 1 billion women globally who are unbanked and not part of formal financial systems. And formalization also means keeping clear financial records and making sure that personal finances are separate from business finances. Secondly, in terms of financial literacy, that is really key. And our Road to Growth program, which we launched in Nigeria in 2015, really focuses heavily on financial management. And I think the third thing that's really important is confidence as well, because women need to build the confidence to be able to seek funding. And in our Road to Finance program, we do seek to help women explore different funding options and including pitching to financial institutions. And we've seen that 100% of Road to Finance participants in Nigeria reported an increase in confidence in applying for finance, and 60% of them had actually applied for finance within a year of joining the program, and over half of which were successful. And the results show that with the right support, women can overcome the barriers that they face and access the funding they need to thrive. And I want to also give a shout out to our partners, the Fate Foundation, who are really driving this work in Nigeria with us. And as Adenike said at the start, when you invest in women entrepreneurs, you are investing in communities, families, and the future of a nation.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, I mean, straight to you. In your own opinion, what are some of these policies that we see or you see in Nigeria that either hinder or, of course, help the growth of women-owned businesses? And what do you think are reforms that are urgently needed?
Let me throw a question out. Who here is tired of problems? Are we tired of problems? So I think we should be focusing on the solutions, right? And I'm saying this because I think we have a powerful tool that has been given to us in this space, which is Women's Economic Empowerment Policy. And we should be bullish about it. And I say this because the Women's Economic Empowerment Policy really speaks to, and I think it was really interesting listening to the statistics from the research that was done, because it speaks to the focus of this policy, which of course first is capacity building, it speaks to access to finance, it speaks to access to markets, it speaks to the policy and the regulatory part of it, right? It speaks to the legal frameworks around it. And these 4 pillars are extremely important when we want to talk about women's economic empowerment. So for me, we have this powerful tool, but just like all the other policies, we have a lot of things that remain as theories, and implementation is always a problem. So we know in Nigeria, we have fantastic policies across, but it's always the implementation, right? So when I'm looking at this in my head, it's what are those implementation gaps that we can see, and how do we want to address them so that we have a clear pathway in addressing this issue? And I think for me, the WE policy actually gives us a framework. So I find that it makes it easier for us to stop working in silos, but then everybody has a clear direction as to where we're going. So what are these implementation gaps that we see, right? The first one would be lack of knowledge. Are people even aware that this policy exists? And ignorance is not an excuse. I love the part of the poem where she says, I dig. So you can't just sit down in your space and say, oh, I don't know what's happening, and use that as an excuse, right? So what are the implementation gaps that we see? We have to look for them and acknowledge them. Another thing that I see would also be, within that framework will be the structural barriers that exist in terms of, government, private sector. What are these structural barriers and how do we address them? I think another one we will look at will be the cultural barriers, because what works in Lagos will not work in Kano. What works in Delta will not work in Abuja, right? So as we're thinking through the implementation of this policy, we must be very strategic in how we're identifying these cultural barriers and how do we tweak whatever it is that we're doing to suit the different, for lack of a better word, customers, that we're dealing with. And then the access to finance. We must be bullish about it. See, when we're talking about access to finance in Nigeria, every bank plus EcoBank, every bank has a women product. Every bank. But can we access it? It's one thing for a product to be available, but it's another thing for it to be accessible. And Hansi, we've had this conversation 1,000,000 times as to not using a one-size-fits-all approach in dealing with women, because the various entrepreneurs across both urban and rural areas, like Madame spoke about, will have different financial needs. So how are we speaking to the different needs? Are we intentional? It's not just ticking. We should move past ticking boxes at this point, but really just sitting down and actually building a financial inclusion framework. And that also speaks to what she said about financial literacy, because really that's where it starts. So we must put our backs against the wall and push forward really at this point to say, look, we have this tool that has been given to us. How do we want to look at capacity building across the different sectors, across the different requirements for women-owned businesses? I know that one of the things that has happened very recently is the move to digitalization of women-owned businesses. And every day that I walk into spaces where this is being acknowledged, I'm excited, because we saw from COVID that a lot of women-owned businesses failed because they were not online. So the fact that a lot of women-owned businesses are now seeing the need to go online, the need to use digital spaces to push their businesses, for me, that's fantastic. That's capacity building. So how are we looking at it across the different sectors? When we are talking about access to markets, how are we doing it? What are we exposing our entrepreneurs to? When people say come out for fairs, some people think it's a waste of time, but it's really not. Nobody knows you if you sit in your little corner, right? You go out and you see a product, and you go back and you're like, okay, I can actually tweak my business to suit this. Oh, this looks nice. How can I improve myself? And I'll share an example. I've also been, I wanted to say I've also been an entrepreneur, but I am still an entrepreneur. But there was a time I was running Roots and Brew, which was what we went into, when I went into EDC at the time. And we were making flatbreads from sweet potatoes because it was a healthy brand, right? But because it was from fresh potatoes, it couldn't store longer than 2 days in the fridge. Of course, you don't want to poison anybody. So I went to the UK for holiday and everything, and I walked into one of the supermarkets. And I just started going through the flatbread section, and I was reading all the ingredients, literally reading it. And then I came back home, did my research, and found out some of those ingredients are ingredients that even bakers use for their cakes. And so we started using it because it was a healthy variant. We started using it. And that bread moved from 2 days to 2 weeks. So this is what you do when you go out. You can't sit in spaces and just say that, I don't know what's going on. So I think for me, we have this tool, and every organization that is working across women's economic empowerment can use the WE policy as a framework to literally build support that women entrepreneurs need to move forward.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you can see women, when they're passionate about something, it just oozes out naturally. And Mona, I'm coming to you. We're facing so much economic downturns, challenges, disruptions, and I'm sure over the years you have also experienced so many things, but it seems you have bounced back and bounced back well. So what are some of these strategies you'd like to share with female entrepreneurs that can help them be resilient in these downtimes and uncertain periods of business growth?
It starts with the person. It starts with the person. 2 years ago, I wanted to change my car. And when I found the price, I ran away. But last year, after the election, I changed my car. This year, I actually have investment from my business. I have savings. I bought crypto. So I'm making money. In an economy, everybody's saying is bad. Because there is a way, there's always a silver lining. There is always an opportunity when there's a downturn. Billionaires are built when the economy is bad. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going is real. And you've got to believe it, particularly as women. You've got to believe that we are not at the worst place that we can be. We're actually in a place where if we open our eyes, we will see the opportunity. So how do you do it as an entrepreneur? What do you listen to? Are you listening to things that are depressing you and changing you and making you unproductive, making you not want to go out and try again? Or are you listening to things that are building you up? Just listening to YouTube and how to become a billionaire can blow your mind. I'm telling you, you don't even need to leave your house to build yourself up. So, like she said, and like the statistics have shown, information is key, but the type of information is even more important. What are you listening to? What are you feeding your mind on? Are you developing yourself as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as a business owner, as a leader? Or are you allowing, what the environment seems to be saying? Because a lot of people are actually making money. I ask people, you say there's no money. Have you seen the high rises going up everywhere? Is it only sand they are using to build it? They are using money as well. So these are some of the things that I do as an entrepreneur. I look for opportunities. I've seen 3 or 4 possible clients in this room. Some of them are on this stage. Some of them are sitting in front of me. I'm not listening to the exchange rates. I just adjust to the exchange rates. Do you understand? And I say to people, so they say the naira is 1,007 at the moment to the dollar. Project for it to become 2,000. And so you're not going to be, You're not going to be taken unawares. It's not going to hit you in the face when it actually happens because you've planned for it, you've projected for it, and you've expected it to happen. What else do we do? I keep myself informed. What's going on? What are the new trends? Digital. I'm digital. I have more customers coming in from out of the country than even locally because we're online, we're as visible as we can be. I go to fairs, I go out, I take my products out, I talk about my business all of the time. So the first thing, like I said, is don't give up. Don't give up. Don't believe what's being said. Be resilient, be nimble, change. Your goal remains the same, but you can change how you're going to get there. So keep adjusting, keep embracing change. Don't be, and that's the good thing about women, we change a lot. We change our hair, we change our clothes, we change our shoes all of the time. I'm currently in charge of a drive for a charity drive. We're collecting old clothes and giving. The clothes the men are giving us are totally worn out. They have worn the clothes, as in the clothes have finished. But the women's clothes, you can see they just wore them a few times, change them, and that's what we are. And that's one of our advantages. We like new things, So in your business, embrace that as well. Embrace new thoughts, embrace new ways of doing things. But keep your goal as your focus, and that helps you to keep being resilient.
Spoken like a true entrepreneur. So, Divya, I'm coming back to you. Of course, we are in a very rapid, dynamic, should I say, phase in life. So many changes in technology and so many skill sets that were relevant last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago are no more relevant today, and so many trends changing. So I just want to ask you your own opinion. What are some of the skills that you feel are critical for female entrepreneurs to embrace, within the next few years, in line with the technological changes that we are seeing that even my fellow speakers have spoken about?
Yes, we all know that the next decade will bring rapid technological changes, and women entrepreneurs really need to be prepared to thrive in this evolving landscape. digital literacy skills are a real crucial driver of women business success. And we heard earlier today from the director of the Fate Institute that their report also showed that technology adoption was a key driver for business growth. And our research also corroborates this, because we've found that 92% of women entrepreneurs use smartphones for business, 55% own both a smartphone and a laptop, and that 54% are actually intending to increase their investment in digital tools and technology in the coming year. However, simply having access to the technology is not enough, because women need the skills to be able to leverage these tools effectively. And we know that there is a technical skills gap. So 39% of women entrepreneurs surveyed in our research said that they felt held back by a lack of technical skills that prevented them from fully utilizing the tools. And talking about AI, our research shows that 44% of women entrepreneurs actually currently use and have adopted AI tools within their businesses, but there's a real need for training and learning in this space, and 66% actually say that they want more training to effectively use AI. So addressing these gaps is really crucial. And beyond basic digital literacy skills in areas like e-commerce, digital marketing, data analytics, and cybersecurity are also important. So together with our partner, the Fate Foundation, the Cherie Blair Foundation for Women currently offers Road to Growth, Road to Finance, Road to Leadership, blended training programs. We have our mentoring program that we've mentioned, as well as an award-winning mobile phone app per venture. And all of our programs enable women to build digital skills and confidence so that they can use digital tools to improve their business outcomes. So combining digital skills with strong financial management will really empower women entrepreneurs to make informed decisions, to secure funding, and also help them scale their businesses in an increasingly digital economy.
Thank you very much. And for those of you that are sharp, there are business opportunities in everything that she has said. So you better tap into that and start earning your heavy currencies. As my entrepreneur has said, you can still thrive in these downtimes. I just want to come to you where the UN country representative mentioned the African Free Trade continental area, and a lot of women have not even identified the potentials that are in that space. So my question to you is simple. How can our female entrepreneurs begin to tap into that space, and what are some of the things you feel they can do to leverage on the opportunities that exist in that in this regional space for Africa?
Thank you, Hansi. The opportunities that come with after, I'm not even sure how to quantify it, because it's a lot. There's more markets, expanded markets, right? Literally across the entire Africa. There's also the concession of reduced trade barriers. So what you will pay on customs and the rest of that, if you're trading under the AFTA, is greatly reduced. So the opportunities are vast. But one of the issues that we see is knowledge. Not a lot of women know about the AFTA, right? At the Chamber right now, we're currently implementing a project called Her AFTA, which is funded by the UNDP. And the first cohort of women that we took were to Namibia a couple of months ago under the AU SME Forum. We had entrepreneurs from Nigeria, Ghana, Botswana, and then Namibia. In the first 2 days, Nigerian businesses sold out. In the first 2 days. But coming out of that, we saw that 2 brands that were literally selling the same product side by side, the first one sold out before the other one. What was the difference? Branding, packaging. It was clear. It was literally the same product, shea butter. But one person's brand stood out. In fact, as soon as you pass, you will come back. So I think people say buying from the other one after her own had finished, right? So the opportunities for within the after framework is there, but some of the challenges that we see is first, there's the lack of awareness. So we need to do more work in driving information about after. How do we drill it down? I remember I was in a space one time where they were doing this training about, understanding after and all of that. And somebody said to me, okay, I'm a business person. I want to trade on that after. All this one you're talking is policies, English. What do I need to do? Right? So we need to get to the point where we're drilling down information about after in such a way that women understand it. So it's one thing to just put out information, but the way we understand things is different. You want somebody to, find a way around this for you. But that's literally what we have to do. How do we drive the information about after and the opportunities for after for women? We have to, if you tell a woman, go and check on the website, which is what they will tell you, oh, go to the after website, all the information is there, the tariffs are there, go and find out. But if we're going to push this forward, we need to actually bring this information out and share it to the women. So Faith Foundation can champion that and find a way to bring that information out in such a way that we can, share it out to women entrepreneurs in such a way that they understand it. We also need to get to the point where we understand standardization and branding. It's a major thing, and that's one of the issues that we saw, that came out from that. Standardization, branding. What standards mean to us as Nigerians, standards mean to somebody in Ghana is completely different, and somebody in Southern Africa and Eastern Africa, it could be completely different. So we need to get to the point where our businesses understand what those standards are, and we're able to meet those standards. We cannot take away the importance of investment readiness as well. Because it's one thing to have the market, but it's also one thing to be able to supply the market, right? And to be able to supply the market, you need funding. So we must work with our businesses to ensure that they are investment ready to bring in the kind of money that they need to support that market. But another thing that I want to quickly say is, one of the things that we're seeing is also that if we continue to support women, individual businesses, we will be too slow. Exactly. We will not work as fast. Because we're seeing that, and I'll give you an example. One of the women that we took to Namibia, she makes adire clothing, right? But to fulfill one order, sometimes it takes her up to a month because she cannot get adire readily. So we did a further research to look into the adire making community, and even that space is reducing. So we don't have enough people who are making adire. So one of the things under the after program that we're doing is two things. We're supporting the individual businesses, but we're also seeing the need to support the clusters, because we can accelerate it by supporting the clusters. Now, if we're able to support more women, or whether they're men or women who are making adire, they can be supply chain to the lady who already has the business, who has the standards, who has whatever it is that she needs to be an exporting business, right? So we're seeing a lot of that, which is one of the focus that we're also doing. So when we're thinking about taking advantage of the after, don't look at it as it must be my business that is exporting. If you're part of a value chain to a business and export, you're part of the after. So which is where the rural women are also very important, because if we look at the farmings, look at the people who are bringing out the shea butter, who are bringing out the fruits, who are bringing out for people who are doing dried fruits in the agri space, whatever it is, we can find a way to link both the rural and urban businesses to take advantage of the after. So it is something that requires a lot of collaboration and intentionality, because it's really not just about after, but what are we putting in place to ensure that both individual businesses and women who are part of the value chain. So we need to really just strengthen the businesses and the value chain to ensure that we are able to take advantage. It's wide. The market is wide. It's really wide.
Absolutely. It's all about collaboration now and plugging into the right networks. Before I ask my entrepreneur, I just love the name Mona Matthews. Abibola. Sorry, I've just been calling you Mona. I want to just quickly mention that for anybody that may have any question, please just get ready with your questions, whether you want to ask them or quickly write them down. We'll take just a few questions immediately she finishes, and then I will round up. I do understand that Hajia is on her way, but again, because we don't have control over traffic, we don't know what time she'll be here, but I believe that when she comes, she'll be given an opportunity to give her remarks. So we have heard from our DG here on after, and I know that access to markets has always been a critical area that is sometimes a barrier for female-owned businesses. So I just want to find out from you, in your own words, you have told us that you have sort of broken into that international market. What are some of your advice for women-owned businesses that want to just get out there and have greater access beyond the scope that is very tiny for now?
Okay. When she was speaking, I don't know if you noticed, I was nodding my head, almost like it was going to fall off, because one of the things she said is something that has played out in my business journey, and it was something I said, whether they ask me or not, I was going to mention. The need to collaborate. Enough of one woman business. It's what is actually crippling us. And then women should, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but this is what is in my heart. A lot of us women want to do. We want to be the one operating. We need to step back and learn how to run a business properly. We need to be the executive of our business, not the operational manager of the business, And so when you want to have access to market, one of the things you'll find out is that whoever wants to give you any foreign business wants large numbers, which you may not be able to produce if you are doing it by yourself. But piggyback, can't remember again how to say it, but just to follow up with what you said, is the fact that we need to collaborate. We should even go beyond cooperatives and things like that, and actually coming together to form companies where there are 4 or 5 strong women, running that business. If 5 of us approach a bank, they're no fit not give us that money. Do you understand? If I go alone or you go alone, it's going to be a problem. But if 5 of us who are strong, bringing our different strengths together, say, we want money to set up a factory that can produce 100,000 pairs in a month. And this is the reason why you should give us the money, because we can do this, that, and the other. We have done this, that, and the other. The financial institutions will listen to us, whether we are male or female. That's the truth. So we need to get beyond that. It is my business. I am the one doing it. I'm the CEO, chief executive, driver, messenger, and everything of the business. To forming proper corporations that is an aggregation of all our strengths to get us to where we need to be. That's one thing. Secondly, because of how I run my business, like I said, I have that advantage. I work with different clusters of shoemakers. And even though, there are limitations to that style of doing business, but it's given me an advantage and the ability to be able to aggregate the strengths within my, the ecosystem of my business, my industry, so to speak. So in my business, I'm able to do a lot more than other people who are just running their own little workshops and just focusing on one type of product, so to speak. We are able to do so much more because we've learned the we've learned the trick of collaboration. Thank you.
In fact, I'm so happy to hear this because the UN country rep is here. We were saying a similar thing just this week at a meeting, that I was telling them it's time to build consortiums to leverage on the affirmative procurement opportunities across the nation, because there are certain types of contracts you cannot get as a single woman-owned business. But when you come out as a consortium, they have no choice but to say, yes, this is for you. So quickly, I don't know if anybody has a question to direct your question to the panel or whoever it is. Okay, let me just see the hands so that I just give numbers. I see 1, 2. Anybody here? 3. I can see the men are asking more questions. And 4. So I have 4 questions. You just let us know who you are, what you do, and then who you are directing your question to.
My name is Olatunde Aleilo. I run a printing and a branding business in the United States of Shomolu. I don't know who this question is actually meant for, but let me just ask it. I am a man, like you can all see. The The man who was my biological father died when I was 3 or thereabouts. And I was raised by my mother alone. And perhaps because of that peculiar, upbringing that I had, so perhaps in my thinking, I think I'm more feminine than masculine as it is. I usually say that if I'm not a Christian, I'll be married to probably like 75 women, kind of. So, but this that we're talking about, I'm really grateful to God that I'm here because it's given me a trajectory to begin to think about when the keynote speaker was talking. For the first time, it occurred to me that I think I need to start giving my wife some money outside what she needs to run the home. Because for the first time, I really never understood that she's a civil servant and I will come home and cross my legs. She's gone to work and she will get into the kitchen and somebody is thinking it's our responsibility. How can we begin to educate men at fora like this? Because if men do not understand this, you might realize that you will end up causing some problems for a lot of women, because when you begin to do this, women will be more successful, will be very successful, and in some homes you could find out that women might be more successful than their men. And when these guys don't understand that something is going on that is causing this, you will see them begin to you see this success begin to give rise to some domestic violence. So how can we do some things that are tailored towards men to begin to understand that you need to be conscious and you need to be intentional about empowering your girl child, your women, your sisters, so that we can begin to find some men being feminist.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say that this particular question, personally, I think should go to the keynote speaker, because you have touched on the care economy and you have also touched on gender-based violence. And those are areas that are very critical to the UN women. So I hope that is okay, ma. Okay, number 2. Can somebody give her? No, maybe let me just take 2 questions. Yeah, let me take the questions and then just let's ask the questions quickly.
Sure. Yeah, good morning. My name is Eziafaka Kungokolo, and I'm in the developmental disability space. Now, I go to places like this, and I keep hearing the business, and what comes to my mind is I'm thinking tech, production, and the likes. Now, I'm not sure that anybody has looked at my space because it's a service industry. And I say that because when we go out to look for funds, either on the foundation side or even on the limited side, it's hard to even explain to people what we're doing, number one, or to get them to understand that the person that has an intellectual disability or autism or something does require service, which I'm providing, and I need funds to keep that business going. So what are we going to do about including people like us or businesses like ours?
Thank you very much. So a question on persons with disabilities. While you go to the next speaker, I'd like to allow the UN country representative to respond to that. The first question, obviously. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, maybe stand a little bit so I can see the person who asked the question. Yeah, I want to say that in the work we do, men are very important. Because for me, I have 40 years experience promoting gender equality and women's empowerment. And I've seen different things on the field. What I've seen on the field is that when men understand the rationale for gender equality and women's empowerment, they become our allies and they even do more things than even some women who are not sensitive. Because the fact that a woman, as you're seeing a woman, you may think that she's sensitive to gender. It's not that. Some of those women are not sensitive to gender. I take you the case in the DRC parliament, when all of us, all people had done a lot of advocacy for more women, or to have the quota system in the parliament in DRC. In the parliament, it was one woman who spoiled the whole thing for us. And the woman started and said, no, I'm a woman. I fought to be here. Why should they give special, you know? And once she said it, all the men just say, yes, we aligned to what she's saying. And we spoiled all the advocacy, and we had to come again. We now have the system in place, but we had to waste about 1 more year. I'll also give you an example of our Secretary General. Our Secretary General, when he started, he said there must be 50-50. And they say, oh, where can we see? He said, look for the women, look for CVs. Women are everywhere in the countries, in the different countries. And today, I'm telling you, at our HQ, we have 50-50. Under Secretary Generals, Assistant Secretary Generals, now we have 50-50. And that, when I say 50-50, that means women are representing 50% and men are also represented 50%. That work is done by a man who is sensitive, who believes that gender equality is not just is not out to make women recalcitrant or break their homes. Gender equality is actually a strategy for us to accelerate our development. So we have a whole big program we call He for She. The He for She program is a big program right from New York coming down to all of us here. We identify those men who are really open to this kind of discussion and also helping women. And so we have a network. In Nigeria, we have 16 states already with He for She network, He for She networks, and they are doing a marvelous job. They can get to men the way we cannot get to. I give you one other simple example. In DRC, I was trying to get the parliament to understand what gender-responsive budgeting. And the first time we went to my colleague, we talked to them, they were very angry. While my colleague was talking, I was taking the photos because I could see how the men were reacting, their faces, the way they were. I was just taking photos. And I told my colleague, don't worry. And they said, we should go and tell Ban Ki-moon. It was Ban Ki-moon at the time. Go and tell him, you want women to come and take our posts? Okay. So I decided, I said, okay, we're going to organize a training out of where we were. And I brought a male trainer. And you know, it is one of my best results that I have. Because by the time we finished, we had 50-50 representation. Wow. They themselves look for a credit line to promote female leadership. You understand? So my belief, the first time I meet with any man is that he does not understand the rationale for gender. But when we would talk with the person is going to understand about gender. Even traditional rulers, we're working with them. Religious leaders, we are working with them. The other year, if you went in Abuja, you will see big billboards of traditional and religious leaders saying no to gender-based violence, saying no to patriarchy. They themselves, you see. So men are not the enemies of women. Men are actually there to make women progress. Because when women progress or advance, it is still the men who are still benefiting. So we will be very happy to have you as a member of our He for She. Thank you for that question.
I'm sure you can see that she was the right person to answer your question. And I will also encourage you to gather the men so that we can invite them to come and speak to them. The person with the mic, I think you can come to the person with the third speaker. Does anybody on the panel want to speak to the persons with disability, that community? Go ahead.
Okay, let me put my voice to that. I think the first thing you need, madam, is perseverance. And I say this because it feels like all of a sudden now there's so much talk around women, gender. We didn't start today. We've been on this journey for years before anybody's listening to us now. And it takes perseverance to get there. The disability space is one where we're just really beginning to understand, and we're beginning to push to the forefront. But we cannot stop because the doors are not opening. So for that space, you need to build your door. In a sense, but it's really advocacy. We need to keep speaking about it till it becomes a front burner. We're not there yet, which is why, the space, even the women's space where we see a lot of conversations are happening, we're still building out the space in a sense. So my first thing to you would be it's perseverance. Please don't stop because it's very important work that you're doing. But the other thing that I'll also say is ensure that your business has structure, so that when the money eventually comes, you know where the money is going into, and no bank will tell you, or whatever financial institution will not tell you, you don't have what we're looking for. So structure and governance, whatever it is in your business, must be there. But then in addition to that, it's really the advocacy and continue to just push in the work that you're doing.
I want to say something as well. When there's disability in the family, the caregiving falls on the woman. So what you're doing is very, very important, and it's very relevant to what we're talking about here, because the man is not going to leave his work or his business to start looking after anyone who has the disability, So, like she said, just remain focused, remain resilient. It's going to happen. I know of I know a lady who runs a support system for women who have special needs children, and it's a lot of work, So if someone like you is empowered to take those children off their hands for, even if it's just a few hours a day, those women will now be able to produce more in their other spheres of existence. So I commend you, and I say, just keep doing it.
Okay. Yeah.
By the time you leave here today, meet, yes.
I was actually going to say that the UN is actually doing a lot of work now on the care economy, which you can plug into. But again, you identify the networks of disabilities, because there are a lot of networks that are the ones that we also engage with. Even the Lagos State office, I think they have an agency, LASODA also. So the last two questions, quickly. Okay, I understand that we have one or two questions online, so I will allow her to do that, but after the last two, yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. And I need to first apologize because I want to say this from my perspective as Bambo, not as the dean of the faith school, so that it doesn't come across that I'm attacking my own colleagues and the ladies in the house. But a lot of the comments have made me wonder whether we are addressing this in totally the correct way. Those of you who have read Things Fall Apart will see it. It's a man's world, and the woman either deliberately or inadvertently, wants to have the man in front and behind. Look at any billboard, and I'm not attacking pastors, but it's usually the pastor in front. Pastor Mrs. is behind. And a lot of times, she's Pastor Mrs. because she's the pastor's wife. I would doubt if they both got the calling at the same time. So let's think about these things. In the offices, you will naturally see the women either deliberately or inadvertently want to go towards the entertainment side of the decision in the office. It might be a fallacy of hasty generalization, but usually a lot of the women in the offices I've been in, and I've been in quite a number of offices, would naturally say, well, you men, you go and do it. They let us women do that. So in the narrative of, the man or the men are stopping us, the women also need to be honest with themselves and say, are we part of our own problem? I think probably about 10 banks in Nigeria have women CEOs. So how come the dynamics are not, different? Well, are they not phenomenally different? like I said, this is me talking as Bambo, because you can hear my director say, no, that is different. So since you've brought it into a director to director, I will say for everyone who says finance or access to finance is the challenge, my question will be, well, are you sure? Because you also need to ask yourself, did you need the finance? Were you going after the correct finance? How many applications did you write? Did you have the correct information? Or are you just saying it, I didn't get it because I'm a woman? Because the person who denied you is possibly a woman. So what did you do or not do that you didn't get it right? So like I said, I apologize. It's not that I'm attacking anyone, but I really would like everyone to hold a mirror and say, for every time you say that it was because I'm a woman, let's not forget that many of us are probably even more female than women. And I say that as Bambo. I like to believe that I'm more female than many women. I don't come across like it, but I can definitely see it because a lot of my growing up was with women. I talk about Mama Funlayo more than I talk about Brother Larry and stuff like that. So let us also ask ourselves those questions and not just want to wave the flag. And for our keynote speaker who said, let's go into the areas where the men are dominating, like mining and even driving. And I noticed that Teju was smiling behind me. I said, women, you can't carry cement. And you said that you change more clothes than men do. So also put that in the narrative that if the men are wearing their clothes thin, and we will say we are frugal, and that's why we wear one attire, and you are changing all the time, your profit line is going to take a hit.
Thank you, our dean. Well, while you go to the next person, first of all, I think we should give him a round of applause. Because the truth of the matter is that these disruptive voices are the reality of our society. So it's good to hear that side, see it from another lens and coming from a male. So I'm choosing to say I don't want us to react to it. Because I know if I give 5 of you microphones now, you react. Yes. He only gave a comment. Let us take it as constructive feedback.
Right. Thank you.
Because you don't agree. Because this thing will turn into a debate. I'm trying to manage time. But since Adeyika is here, and she has not told me to, Adeyika, sorry, to calm down. Okay. We will take feedback. But, okay, ask your question, then we'll come back for feedback. Quickly ask your question.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Sandra Obuso. I am a startup coach and a marketing expert. I run a community for women in business. The aim is to foster collaboration and see how we can grow our businesses, right? So I have a question for the panelists. How can you recommend like effective strategies for fostering collaboration? Because she mentioned that, women need to come together to approach. But then at the end of the day, how do we actually do this? Like, what practical strategies can you recommend? Thank you so much.
Okay. So let me get feedback, but this will be one feedback.
Yeah.
Because we don't want a debate.
Yeah,
Okay.
Actually, it's not a debate. I think he made his point. And as you said, it reflects what is the normal in reality. So the first thing I would say is that there are also other pastors who put their wives in front.
That's true.
In the posters. Yeah. And another thing along my walk for these 40 years is the question of the sex of the head of household. It's an issue. The sex of the head of household. Who is the head of household? We have head of households that have been put there by law, by religion, and all those. But we have de facto head of household. Because the head of household is not just a title, it's a responsibility. Even you call the pastor, Jesus said leadership is service. So in the head of house, in the household, the They may not say it, but the children and those who are inside the head of household, they know who is the real head of household. And the thing I'm asking, shall we leave poverty continue? Shall we leave underdevelopment continue? Shall we leave increased morbidity and mortality continue just because of the issue of head of household? That is the problem. So for me, the head of household is not a very important issue. The head of household, for me, is the one who provides the required services to those who are in the household. So if you say you are head of household and we don't see you when we are taking, when it's necessary, you are not there, you're most of the time out, you are not contributing, you are not, how shall we call you head of household? So we have two head of households always existing within the homes. And people who are in the homes know who is actually the head of households. Another thing that I want to put on the table is the socialization process. You are very correct when you say that some women may be doing some things against other women. I can't deny that. But we are saying that narrative is changing. Because the socialization process where both boys and girls have passed through in Africa makes all of us to think that leadership, business, professions that take you out of your home are meant for men. That is the socialization process. So that is why at UN Women, we do advocacies, not only for men, we do advocacies also for women, to understand that where we are now, the expectations that people had in the 18th, 19th centuries is no longer the expectations that we have now. For instance, in those days, you just needed to have children who will help you in the farms. The more children, the more wife you had was very important. That was a status symbol because you have more production from the farm. But today, I'm telling you, the expectations have changed. Mm-hmm. It's not only that they want your child to go to school, they want your child to go to a better school. And all those expectations, they carry costs. So we can no longer say, okay, the man should be the one working or the woman should be the one working. And in fact, even where the woman earns more money than the man, for me, I believe it's just understanding between those who are in the households. So whether the pastor is in front, whether the wife is behind, we know who is actually the head of households. But also, I want to put his point to what he said about women. Sometimes we women, we don't take challenges. Sometimes they give us difficult jobs, we refuse. Sometimes they give us jobs that take us to the apex, we refuse. That is it. And just the fact she was saying we don't go for information. Some of us don't want to go for further training. Some of us are comfortable where we are. Those are all aspects that we can say these things are caused by women. But don't blame the women, blame the society, because it's the socialization process that makes the woman, the wife, to tell the boy to go learn and to tell the girl to go to the kitchen. So, but we are here today talking about these things because we expect that things are going to change. And I know you've said that you are more female, more feminine. So you will do us more work to sensitize the other men. Thank you.
I want to say, I'm sure you agree that this has been a learning session for us. And I want to appreciate everybody for the questions. Does anybody want to respond to her? Divya, are you still online? But go ahead.
I want to respond to Mr. Bambo. And
oh my God.
Because he also mentioned the fact that I said women wear more shoes, more clothes. You know, the truth is that women are more frugal. We buy plenty, but we don't buy expensive. So even in my business, because we know the man is going to buy one pair of shoes, their shoes are more expensive. Yes, Mr. Bamba, you heard me. And the women's, but beyond that, and seriously, what I want to say is, the United Nations obviously seems to have understood the place that unpaid care work, how it affects a woman. If a woman is in an office and she's thinking of the fact that she has to buy tomato, blend it, and make stew that night, and then you bring a complex problem, there's that probability that she'll be like, you know what, let the man do it. I have so many other things. My child is preparing for exams, this and that and the other, that I'm putting into perspective along with this job, And so and I've always said this, that when a woman is home cooking and she has the ability to earn ₦1 billion per annum, and you leave her doing a job that somebody you can pay 30,000, 40,000 naira a month, the nation is losing, So I would take up what she's saying about unpaid care, what she said about paid care work, and I put it into serious consideration. It's also a business opportunity, because in the next 10 years, more female entrepreneurs, more leading female CEOs are going to emerge, and they're going to need first-class care providers who can help them run their homes successfully, and while they run their businesses successfully, and it's going to be a win-win for us all.
Thank you very much. So, Divya, the question on how women can form, should I say, clusters, corporations amongst themselves to leverage on business opportunities. Do you want to chip in on that?
Yes, but before I do so, I wanted to offer a perspective on gender-based violence, if I may, that the gentleman who asked the first question was talking about. Because what we see is that gender-based violence towards women in the real world actually does spill into the online world as well. And our research shows actually that 67% of women entrepreneurs face online gender-based violence, and actually 14% experience this on a daily basis. And this does have a significant impact on women's businesses. About 10% of those women reflect that this has a significant impact, because it causes them to withdraw from some of those online spaces where they are doing their business. And this can take the form of stalking online, harassment, sharing offensive content, abusive material. And so that is certainly an area for further investigation and potential policy interventions as well. In terms of collaboration, I invite the woman to perhaps think about joining our Road to Growth program if she has not already, because I know from participants that it is through those training cohorts that actually the women really are able to form networks and oftentimes buy goods and services from each other. And we find, and we are told that anecdotally, it is that ability to engage with other women entrepreneurs who are facing some of the same challenges and go on that journey together that is really valuable.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me quickly add something.
So I think for me, the first thing will be, if you're trying to build a community of women who you want to collaborate, right? The first thing is your shared vision. What do they know that they're coming into? What do you think that you're trying to build? And I'm saying this because I'll use an example of one of the clusters that belongs to the chamber. They literally started maybe in March, April, but now they have become one of the exporters for NEPC, and there are over 400 of them. So when there's a product requirement, they all come together. Look, I'm looking for sesame seed. Everybody who farms sesame seed is pulled together, and that company exports, right? But they came into that cluster with the understanding. There's a shared vision. There's the understanding that this is what we want to do. It's one thing to just put women together, and I've seen that happen so many times. Oh, women in business, I have a group of women in business. What are you people really doing? What's the shared vision? What is the reason why you're coming together in the first place? Is it because you want to build a bigger business together? Is it because you want to build a network of value chains for yourself? Is it because you want to move yourselves faster into leadership positions? If you're not clear on what that shared vision is, you just continue to have a group of women who are speaking from different sides of their mouth and nothing is really moving. You must also be intentional about bringing capacity into that group, sharing information into that group. Those two things are extremely important. Without those, it's really just another group of women who are talking and really not getting anything done.
So since you have picked this mic, before you drop it, your final thoughts. What is the vision you see for women-owned businesses by 2035?
Online question.
Oh, online, sorry. I'm so happy that Adenike is not telling me to round up. So I'm safe. Online, sorry about that.
Thank you very much, boss.
My online community, please forgive me.
Okay, so these questions are not addressed to anyone specifically, so I'll just take them together. So the first question says, my name is Victor Abayomi. I'm a lawyer and business consultant. I have consulted with a number of businesses that women lead. These issues are real. My question is, how can these businesses take advantage of the AFTA and the opportunities that have been mentioned this morning? Is there a contact person we can connect with today to take advantage of this opportunity now that we're talking about it? So that's the first question. The second question says, hello, my name is Fatima. I'm a businesswoman and the CEO of Naim Drinks. Here in North Nigeria, mostly, and in Nigeria generally, it's so hard for women to be given support to do business for themselves and become independent. So my question is, how can we improve that and give women support and funding for their capital to start business? Then the last question is, the last speaker actually captured my question. There's hardly any focus on service or professional service or consultancy businesses when we talk about funding. How should service business reposition themselves for funding and global visibility? All the benefits seem to be more focused on agri and manufacturing entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much. I think just to give the short answer to the first question, anything around AFTA, you can either speak to myself, the UN country representative, I believe WME is here, because the UN, for example, is working on building the capacity of female entrepreneurs to leverage on the opportunities, but they're doing that with quite a number of partners. Some are financial institutions. I know that one of them has even signed on to even provide support. We also have a lot of Chamber of Commerce's women groups that we will work with and so on and so forth. So if you even Google the AFTA, you will see that there's some work around that. So just feel free to connect. For those of you that will say you're online, you don't know how to connect to us, you know how to connect to Faith Foundation. Okay. Thank you very much. So that even has made, in fact, I've heard from the executive director here for Faith Foundation, it has made me realize that you all have to attend tomorrow's session, because tomorrow is focusing holistically on that. So you will hear from the depth of the knowledge in the room and the opportunities. And thank you very much for even inviting the national coordinator for that. I'm sure they will also have a lot of information. And I also want to encourage you to always research online, because things pop up every day, every week that you can leverage on. The second question, do you want to take that?
The one from the lady from Kano, yes?
Kano, yes, from the north.
So I think the first thing we recognize is there are cultural barriers, that exist, and it's ongoing work. But one of the first things is, even within the cultural barriers that exist, the opportunities that organizations bring, the UN, private sector, everybody, there's constant capacity building that's going on. And I know that I've heard in spaces where women are saying, oh, we're capacity building, there's capacity building fatigue that is coming in this space. But one of the things that I will always say is you cannot underestimate the power of knowledge. Because even if you are in the same space talking about the same thing, the way somebody else will talk about it and the way, you know, two different people talk about it will be completely different. And your understanding of that issue will be completely different. So, Madam, I think please continue attending the capacity building programs that are coming on, especially when it comes to financial literacy, since funding is an issue. When it comes to financial literacy, investment readiness, you cannot, it's not something that you can really do on your own, right? So when these trainings are being brought, when these opportunities are being brought, please take advantage of them. There's also the opportunities that come online. There are free courses online that you can also take. So it's not really about waiting to go into physical spaces, because we know that sometimes even the women can't leave their homes and go into the physical spaces. But you can take some of these trainings online. So it's really just taking advantage of what's available as we try to shift the needle as much as possible. So I think for me, in response to that question, really continue with capacity building, financial literacy opportunities, and where there seems to be funding opportunities. One of the things that we also notice is women are very risk averse. You don't want to put yourself out. So you have to put yourself out. If you put yourself out 10 times, one will probably click, right? So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Divya, are you still online? I just want to say with regards to the consulting, obviously, when it comes to funding, there are focus areas for most banks and other financial institutions. And so somebody is asking, how can consulting entrepreneurs, those in that space, also leverage from, you know, interventions, financial interventions? I would recommend one as identify the big consulting firms. There's nothing wrong with seeking mentoring and guidance from them, because a lot of them have access to most of these people that you need support from. Sometimes you just need a mentor in that space that can be your link to what you want to get. But Divya, I don't know if you want to add anything, and then also use the opportunity to give your final words for this session.
I think you've very much covered in terms of the opportunities that are available in country. So perhaps I will just give my final thoughts. And firstly, I really want to commend and congratulate all of you in the room today, because it really is women entrepreneurs like you all and gender equality advocates like many of you are that have driven progress in your country. And I really wanted to congratulate everyone and make that point, because Nigeria has made significant strides in women's economic participation, climbing from 81st place to 49th place in the World Economic Forum's Economic Gender Gap Index over the past decade. And we know that women in Nigeria are starting businesses faster than men. The keynote speaker spoke to 38.4 million women entrepreneurs in the country, which is just really amazing. And yet beneath these statistics, there are challenges that persist. I mean, women in Nigeria dominate micro businesses and own just 2% of large enterprises. 58% of women-led businesses remain unregistered, and we know that there are financial and legal barriers that continue to hold women entrepreneurs back. And for example, Nigeria is one of about 100 countries across the world where you still don't have legal provisions that prohibit gender-based discrimination in access for credit. So in terms of a clear policy recommendation, that would be one area to look at. So in terms of our collective vision for the future, I mean, it is really a country in Nigeria for women entrepreneurs that enables them to thrive on a truly level playing field and be able to fully contribute to their families, communities, and the nation's growth. And this is not just my vision, it really reflects the aspiration of the women entrepreneurs that the Cherie Blair Foundation for Women works with every day. And to make this vision a reality, we must act now. And I'll just briefly touch on 3 key areas that can help bring this to life. And one is, I mean, we've talked about it a lot today, access to finance, but it's absolutely crucial. Women need to be recognized as credible business investments and be supported by tailored financial products and increased financial literacy. Technology is another area, and bridging the digital divide and enhancing digital literacy, especially in the rural areas, is critical. And my fellow panelists spoke earlier about the rural areas, and the Cherie Blair Foundation is working with the Fate Foundation to actually take our programming for women in Ogun and Oyo states, and enabling and reaching women and providing these training opportunities for women in peri-urban areas is one key area of focus for us. And finally, the ecosystem support, mentorship, networks, and policies that really challenge the gender stereotypes and enables women's success are all essential. And the Cherie Blair Foundation for Women is proud to play a really small role in this journey. So thank you, and best wishes to all.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Is that a question or a comment? Or I can see you waving at me. I wasn't sure. When I'm rounding up, it's just that, I don't want you. Okay. Now, how do I? Okay. Now, who is your question for? Or is it a comment? It's a concern. Okay. You know what I'll do? Just give me 1 minute. Let me hear from them. I promise you I'll take your concern so that I will not. I'm very inclusive and very gender sensitive. So since more men ask questions, I'm giving you that opportunity. So final words.
Okay, I think for me, just to leverage what she's already said, I really just want to see us move more from gender equity to gender equality. Moving to that space where women literally now have equal opportunity or equal access to everything. Equal access to finance, equal access to care, equal access in every space, to leadership, in governance. I really just want to see a Nigeria where, regardless of where a woman is coming from, regardless of what she has, she can decide to be whoever she wants to be and have everything that she needs to get to that point.
Mona Matthews.
You want me to respond to this? This one. Okay, so a question was given to me directly. I won't take long, don't worry. It says, how can women strengthen their partnerships on the grounds of international collaboration, emphasis on export? What I would say is start with local collaborations first before you now begin to do international collaborations. And when you have a strong team here, it's then easy to reach across. And there are chambers of commerce and organizations all over the world doing different things. So just leverage on that. As for my final words, like I said, as an entrepreneur, it starts with you. You've got to believe that it's possible. You've got to believe that whether you're a woman or not, what you want to achieve is achievable. And then you've got to go out there, get all the information, make all the friends, and make what it is you want happen. Thank you.
She's here, but I promised you. So, quickly, can somebody just get a mic across right behind you? Just quickly.
Good morning. I'm Fenchola Mustafa. I was a general manager MTN Lagos Southwest before I moved into entrepreneurial environment around 2016. I'm an hotelier, but I thought that concern would be highlighted. Actually, the lady that presented about the factors that stop businesses mentioned access to finance, to market, but I think power is really killing the business. Power is really killing the business. And I don't know what can be done really in terms of power infrastructure, especially in hospitality. 50% of our profits goes into that.
Madam, are you coming tomorrow?
And okay. I should present
there
it tomorrow.
Somebody that is going to speak on this.
That is nice.
So please,
maybe I will keep it.
If you did not plan to come tomorrow,
I didn't plan to come tomorrow, but I will come tomorrow. Then I will tell you how it can be done and how we have survived
so we need you
far.
Tomorrow for sure.
Yeah,
I can guarantee.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm not a lady again. I'm a man when it comes to business. Thank you very much.
So she's a she for he. Thank you so much to all our panelists, and I know that we're going to take a picture. I want to make sure that Divya is here. In concluding, I want to encourage all the men in the room. The women are not here to compete. We want equity because we know that the reason we are sinking in various communities is because there is the absence of equity. And all of us collectively are suffering the consequences of that. So I want to encourage the men to keep the conversation going and to support the women in your lives to ensure that they form the percentage that are rising to the top in their respective fields. And for the women, keep pushing, keep moving, don't stop until we get to where we need to be. Thank you very much.
Please, can we have other panelists wait on the stage? And then can I please invite Mrs. Adenike, Mrs. Shei Bella, Ms. Amaka, Mr. Banwo, and Ms. Toyin Bakari for pictures. Thank you so much. Wow, what a panel session. I mean, there are panel sessions and then there are panel sessions. And this one was beyond amazing. I know we went a little bit above time. Please, forgive us. We're trying to wait for the honorary commissioner, who is still on her way. We wanted to see if she could make it to the session, but unfortunately, we were not able to wait any longer. I'm hoping that she will still be able to make it before the ceremony ends. So can we please give our panelists another round of applause? Because I wanted to share some of the nuggets and things that I learned, but honestly, I don't even know where to start. I mean, there was just so many takeaways, and I mean, what a time to be a woman. So we're pressed for time, so we're going to move on very, very quickly. But please don't forget to use the hashtags FatePSD10 and FatePSD to share all the nuggets that you learned during this panel session. So we're slowly coming to an end, and I would like to introduce Mrs. Shei Bella, who is the board director of Fate Foundation and a partner at Banwo and Igodalo. And she's going to give us the policy recommendations and closing remarks, because at Fate Foundation, we don't only talk about things, we actually get things done. So, Ms. Shei Bella, you're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I think I would also start by saying it is a great, great time to be a woman. And can we just celebrate ourselves? Can we clap for ourselves? And the men in the room too, clap for yourselves as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. In addition to giving the policy recommendations, we'll just also give the closing remarks generally. So first of all, I'd like to say a big thank you. Adinke started off with just talking to us in her opening remarks and basically talking about how investment in women is critical. So when we talk about investment in women and all that it does for us, in the sense that it ensures that from a generational perspective, that women are empowered, society is developed, those are the sorts of things that we want to see in our society. And so it's extremely important that we continue to focus on investing in women and investing in women-led businesses. And then if I go on to what Amaka talked about, of course, Amaka, you know, is our director at the Faith Institute. We can't even overemphasize the importance of evidence-based research. And I think that's what everybody has been saying. There's one thing to come out and say, oh, the women this, women that, or we should do this or do that. But just being empowered by data and evidence-based research is important. And so Amaka speaking about 48% of businesses that were surveyed, we found that were female-led businesses. I think that's something that we should really be thankful for, because that means that we're seeing a lot of improvement. Also, seeing that 63% of women also recorded growth in their businesses, even though the numbers in terms of the women themselves, you know, we started to see some changes there. But all the same, there are still things to be thankful for, and there's still little things that we have to celebrate ourselves for. And I think that's where we start from. It's not only all, should I say, bleak. It's not all, sorrowful. You want me to speak into this? Oh, wow. Why did you give me a microphone? Thank you. This is much better. Even I like the way I sound. Thank you. Okay, so, sorry, I have to be careful with that. So yes, I was speaking about the statistics and also saying that even the statistics that we have also seen from our research has also shown us that there is improvement and we should still continue. Just like Mr. Digbite said, persist, persist. Dr. Waymi said the same thing, persist, persist. We do not give up, we keep moving on. Speaking a little bit as to some of the things that we realize continue to be challenges, and we hope that the more we keep, this is our second Women Dialogue session, we hope that next year, when we come and have in this session, we'll be able to also celebrate some of the things that have also improved for the better within the 1 year period. So yes, we know that access to markets continues to be challenging, access to finance continues to be challenging, but we should also celebrate ourselves as well for improvements in technology adoption, and improvements in the quick agility of women to adapt to technology. That's something that's fantastic. How many of us do groceries, market groceries online? I know that. I thank God for Price Pally, not doing any advertisement for anyone, but we know how online and just basically technology adoption has really, really helped in this sort of areas as well. And so, of course, I can't even thank our UN women representative, Ms. Eyong, for such a beautiful keynote speech, and one that's just also inspired all of us within the room. I like the word, affirmative procurement. Yeah, I learned plenty today, yes. Affirmative procurement, and I hope that it's not just that we will listen to these things, but that we will listen, we will think about them, and we will also push for these things to be done. We want to see affirmative procurement in government policy. That's what we want to see. We want to be able to see gender-responsive budgeting. We want to be able to see that. I was telling Amaka, I was sitting beside her, and I said, I didn't even know unpaid care work had become a term. So when Ms. Eyong talked about it, I did a Google search, and I saw, wow, there are even OECD definitions for unpaid care work. That I know will suffer a bit from cultural barriers, will suffer a bit from, having people to have a proper, should I say, a mindset reset, basically. But I know that with willpower and persistency, that we can do that. And I think that it's important, I like what she said it's important to try and see how we can reduce the number of women who are only focused on unpaid care work and try and increase the number of women as well that are doing paid work. And I hope that that's something that we're able to do as well in terms of our policy recommendations as well. I really like the point about identifying sectors that are male-dominated and seeing how we can empower men in this, how empower women in this sector. So, for instance, the mining and maritime as well, and other sectors that we'll also identify, but also seeing how can we make sure that women also have a place, at the table. Of course, she also talked about how the different things that women need to do to be able to ensure formalizing their business. One thing that seemed to be very, very consistent in all of the conversations, including the panel conversation, was just the instruction or the guidance to have knowledge, be aware, be aware. Knowledge can no longer be an excuse for lack of progress. And so women have to do a lot with respect to knowledge. And this is where we ourselves at Faith Foundation and the Faith Institute start to say to ourselves, perhaps there's some more targeted or more focused type of training sessions that we also need to also do to ensure that we get through to women. I liked the fact and of course the spoken word was amazing. Oluchi, thank you so much. Can we please just clap for her again? That was really, really, really amazing. I would not forget the words grace and great. I liked that. That really deeply resonated with me. I like make your own doors, make your own doors, make your own doors. And we must all do that. So can I just say that for all the beautiful women in this room who continue to do their work with so much grace, and yet the great, keep on doing it and keep on persisting and keep on moving. Our panel session, of course, very, I don't know, inspiring, all the adjectives just coming on, amazing, strong conversations, resilience, speaking about resilience in downtime. I really, really liked what Miss Azzy said. I don't want to call her Mona Matthews. I wanted to really speak to that. I liked how she said, identify as a woman. Sometimes we speak about all of the other issues and all of the other external things, but you as yourself, how are you even working on yourself? Develop yourself. What do you believe as a woman? Feed yourself with positive information. I think that that's very critical around us because there's just so much negativity, negativity about the economy, negativity about how women can't do it. But there has to be a space where we start to watch what we listen to and build positivity and then run and thrive on positivity and be encouraged by positivity. So I really, really like that. Skills, we continue to build ourselves, technology, adoption, but I also like what Dia said in relation to ensuring that even if you're trying to move towards adoption, you yourself as a woman should also try and be skilled as well. Build up your technical skills as well. Yes, I know you don't have to become a software engineer to run the program or run the app, but whatever it is that you need to do to build yourself technically, you also need to be able to do that. I think we cannot emphasize after. And again, for many women, the issue with after is always a knowledge gap issue. And I know that tomorrow's session is going to really focus on that. So I'm going to say, please, please, please come. Come tomorrow. The discussions tomorrow will be enriching. They will be meaningful. And I'm sure that for each and every one of us who comes, I'm sure that we will, be, I was going to say be blessed, but we're not going to be. But I'm sure that we will all have, something great to go back with. The other thing again to mention, and I am rounding up, I'm just trying to make sure I do a summary and make sure I try to capture most of all the things that have been said. For women, we will do well, we will thrive. Strength in numbers cannot be overemphasized. Collaboration, value chains. You don't always have to be the person at the forefront. You can be part of a network that can also be very successful. The future is female. Everything all speaking to that. Services. I really like the question about services, and I like the responses to as well. So it's not just going to be about empowering women only to undertake substantive businesses that work on agri, but also how do we also empower women who are in the service space to also get relevant funding and the kind of access that we keep speaking about today. I can go on and on and on and on about all of the enriching conversations that we have had here today. But our hope at Faith Foundation is that we have started something today. We have agitated your minds sufficiently so that you can go back and think, and that not only doing that as well, at every point in time, wherever it is, you can also participate more knowledgeably in the conversations. We want you to be able to speak from a data perspective. So please, please come tomorrow, get the State of Entrepreneurship report, speak from an evidence-based perspective. And I keep saying the future is female, keep moving, keep doing everything right. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bella, for those amazing closing remarks. I don't know about you guys, but I really don't want this dialogue to end. I learned so much, and it's left me with so much food for thought. And yeah, please, if you can come tomorrow, please be here tomorrow, because the conversation continues tomorrow. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. And we have come to the end of today's dialogue series. I would like to say a very special thank you to our keynote speaker, Mrs. Beatrice Ayong, Miss Beatrice Ayong, for going above and beyond. I mean, her responses to all the questions were so dynamic. All the stats and information that she gave us, I mean, I don't know, I really learned a lot. I would like to thank all of our esteemed panelists. That panel session was fire for fire. I mean, it was a panel session for the books. And I would like to say a very huge thank you to the entire Faith Foundation team and Faith Institute team who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this event a reality. Please, can we give them a round of applause? It's been 10 amazing years of doing this. So thank you so much to the entire Faith team. And also, I would also like to thank the Faith team for 10 years of research, policy, advocacy, and everything in between that it takes to make our lives as women entrepreneurs better. So please, another round of applause for the Faith team. I would like to thank our audience. I don't know about you guys, but did you guys have a good time? Did you guys learn a lot? Are we coming tomorrow? Okay, that's great. Yes, so I would like to thank our audience, and especially every woman entrepreneur here today. I hope you leave this conversation feeling empowered. I hope you leave this conversation feeling hopeful and knowing that the next 10 years are going to be even better than the ones before. Okay, so though we have come to an end, it doesn't end here. We have refreshments, we have food, and we have some light refreshments and food for you guys in the terrace. So if you can please wait for the ushers, they're going to guide us in groups just to make sure that everything is orderly. And can we ask that you please take the little cards that were given to you, your food cards, because you will need to present that over there. So once again, my name is Ayoyinka Abolari, and it has been an honor and my pleasure to host you this morning. On behalf of the Faith Institute, we look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you and have a wonderful day.